Something massive is brewing, and most people have no idea what's coming. Altcoin season isn't just a theory, it's a pattern. A predictable response to a broken financial system that's fueled by liquidity. And history has shown us exactly what happens when that floodgate opens. But the truth is, most people like you are just gonna screw this up. This is where portfolios either explode or evaporate. Not because you're unlucky, but because most people are unprepared. I've been through many cycles and I've seen a lot. The FOMO, getting into every project your favorite influencer talks about, holding heavy bags, missing exits that were obvious, and simple mistakes like sending funds to the wrong wallet addresses. I even lost it all to an exchange hack. And since then, I've made it my mission to not just survive the crypto market, but dominate altcoin season. I've built a playbook that I know works for me. That's why in this video, I'm opening it up. I want to show you the exact moves I'm making right now to get positioned for what could be the biggest run yet. From the red flags I'm avoiding to how I'm preparing for massive gains and how I plan to cash out before 99% of people understand the market's next move. Remember, altcoin season doesn't reward the loudest or people who screenshot their profits. It rewards those that are prepared. And if you're watching this, then it's not too late to be one of those people. And if you're one of those skeptics that believe altcoin season isn't coming, that belief alone could cost you everything. Or maybe you're someone who's waiting for that perfect dip. You keep asking yourself if altcoins will go lower, you're overthinking it, and you'll probably get left on the sidelines. Because here's what nobody's talking about. Global liquidity is already rising, and every major altcoin season in the past was ignited by the same exact thing, a spike in global liquidity. You can literally see it on the charts. Each time the money printer kicks in, risk assets explode. It isn't just guesswork, it's the system. But that doesn't mean that everything in the market will just pump at once. It moves through the system in stages. First it hits Bitcoin, then potentially Ethereum, and eventually altcoins. By the time most people notice, these altcoins are already 2x, 3x, or 10x up or even more. They chase pumps, they get rugged. They're just unprepared. And that's what my strategy hopes to avoid. The window to prepare is small and altcoin season is closer than you think, so make sure you watch this video to the end. You'll know exactly when altcoin season is coming and how to navigate it to come out a winner. Before I reveal my strategy for navigating altcoin season, I want to address an important question that I get asked about all the time. I often get asked about my favorite exchange to use, and the truth is, I don't have one. There are too many hacks and downtimes to just rely on a single platform. Even major platforms like Coinbase have had major outages. That's why I use over 10 exchanges. And one of my go-to platforms is WEEX, which has no KYC or location restrictions. So yes, traders in the USA and Canada don't have to worry about being blocked. They offer some of the lowest fees on trading, and if you sign up with my link down below, you'll receive a 200 USDT bonus and a chance to earn up to 30,000 USDT in rewards. And we'll discuss in more detail about why it's important to prepare multiple exchange accounts later in the video, especially if you expect to be profitable. And if you want to get all the latest alpha on projects in the crypto space, then check out the FireHustle VIP Discord. I also share my content and portfolio moves in the Discord first before it reaches YouTube and X. So if you're looking for a way to stay ahead of everyone else in this market, then follow the link in the description to learn more about the Discord group. And don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let's dive right in. So we touched on how global liquidity is the hidden trigger, and I'm gonna break this down in greater detail later on in the video. It's one of the most important factors to consider. But before that, there is something else to consider. While retail is afraid and hasn't fully entered the space yet, we've seen smart money literally front-running alt season. Michael Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin. The entire Trump family has been talking about crypto. Coinbase and Amex have teamed up to release their Coinbase One card that earns up to 4% Bitcoin on every purchase. And we're even hearing about Amazon and Walmart in talks to launch their own stablecoins. All of this while the crypto fear and greed index sits pretty neutral at the time of recording, a time when I'm personally pretty bullish. But here's the issue. When we see this fear and greed index hit extreme greed, most people will lose everything. Greed is the killer. And it's why most people ride the wave all the way down, from the top to zero. That's why we need to know exactly when alt season is approaching and how to exit before things crash 90%. My biggest regret in previous cycles has been holding through massive gains and watching them bleed. And this is why I really want to emphasize this point so that it doesn't happen to you. The people who make life-changing gains, well, they sell before the crowd even knows what's happening. And if you don't have a plan for that moment, you're not early. You're exit liquidity. One strategy to exit the market that I personally like to use is called dollar cost averaging. The idea is simple. Instead of selling your entire holdings of a coin at once, split those sales into chunks and sell gradually, either based on time or percentage. So for example, instead of fully selling your holdings of $10,000, you can sell orders of 1,000 across the span of 10 weeks. So this makes sure that you're consistently securing profits while also taking advantage of potential positive action with your future sales. This is just an example. And if you want to know about all of the strategies I'll be implementing to exit the markets, then you can check out my full exit plan strategy video right here. But in order to manage your exit strategies properly, you need to know what you own and optimize your portfolio. Because let's say you have 100 different coins. The truth is, you can't keep up to date with the news for every single coin or even watch the charts. Even someone in crypto full-time would have a difficult time managing 100 plays. That's why optimizing your portfolio before the boom and cutting dead weight is very critical. And while you're refining your plays, remind yourself, you can't catch every 100x, and that's okay. Missing a runner is better than chasing garbage and getting wrecked. But once you are in your high conviction plays, the hardest skill to master is to spot euphoria before it's too late. This is the most underrated skill in crypto. You need to recognize when things feel too good to be true. When your group chats are full of pictures of Lambos, screenshots of portfolios, and your Uber driver is trading while driving. This isn't alpha, it's exit liquidity. During every major cycle top, the signs are everywhere, but most people ignore them. When everyone is winning and you feel like you're being punished for selling early, so you hold, and then the bottom falls out. So one way to deal with this is to set emotional alerts. So when I think I'm a genius and everything I touch does a 10x, then it's definitely time to zoom out. This is when you revisit the exit strategies we talked about. It's time to scale out before the dump. And when thinking about which coins to stick with in my portfolio, I like to ask myself this question. If I wouldn't buy again today, then why am I still holding it? For total transparency, I have definitely cut out a few coins. So for example, maybe SocialFi could potentially have a run at some point, but personally, I don't really have too much conviction in this narrative compared to others, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I did end up cutting any positions there. Any AI cryptos with just vaporware, well, they're gone. The point is to basically cut out the losers, which is emotionally difficult, but necessary. Now, I mentioned that I'm not big on SocialFi, so when you're selecting which altcoins deserve to stay in your portfolio, then an important step is to refine your narrative thesis. Narratives drive capital, hype, and community energy. These narratives turn regular projects into 50x monsters and promising tech into viral movements. If you've been following me for a while, then you know we saw this exact thing play out with Griffin already. The question to ask is, which stories are going to dominate this cycle? Think about which trends are heating up and position yourself in these narratives before they heat up. Right now, 3 narratives are emerging as the strongest contenders, and they're backed by real-world momentum, institutional interest, and macro alignment. AI isn't just hype. It's the most explosive tech shift of our time, and it's infiltrating every single industry. Real-world asset tokenization is another one. The idea is to tokenize real-world assets like bonds, real estate, and more to make it tradable and globally accessible on-chain. It opens up the floodgates to institutional capital. And think about it. Real-world assets give crypto more legitimacy in the eyes of regulators and TradFi. They're like the bridge between traditional finance and decentralized finance. Another one is DeFi, and this is one you shouldn't ignore. DeFi is attracting big names, and while last cycle it was all about yield farming and degen plays, it wasn't really sustainable. But now we're seeing a shift in DeFi where there are real revenue models, sustainable on-chain lending, and more. And it's actually the backbone of real-world asset tokenization. When traditional assets come on-chain, they need lending and trading infrastructure, and that's DeFi. And I'll leave you with some honorable mentions, which would be narratives like Deepin and gaming. But these are my top picks for narratives that I'm personally focused on for this bull run. And having your own narrative thesis is very, very important. These might be narratives that I think will do well, but you might not necessarily agree. But you have to pick your narrative thesis before things go parabolic. And then you want to choose cryptos you believe in within these narratives and organize them in a watch list. But how do we actually spot when altcoin season is kicking off? Well, it's not about guesswork. It's about data. It's important to monitor on-chain metrics and liquidity. So if you're relying on headlines or crypto Twitter to time your buys and sells, then you're already behind. Smart money is watching something more important, and that's liquidity flow. You can see the early signs of capital rotation before it hits the mainstream. First of all, we can take a look at the total value locked, or TVL. It tells us how much real capital is parked in DeFi protocols across blockchains. If TVL is rising, then it's a sign that users are deploying capital. If TVL is falling, then it indicates risk off behavior or liquidity leaving the market. So let's hop onto DeFi Llama and take a look at TVL data. So in 2020, the total value locked in DeFi protocols crossed the $1 billion mark, and over a year later, it reached about $200 billion. That's over a 200x in funds entering the DeFi space. We call this time period the DeFi summer of 2020, and it led us into the bull cycle and market peak near the end of 2021. But the space remained active for a while after that until the big crash in May of 2022. And if we look at this chart, we can see that TVL hit a low after this crash under $40 billion. If we take a look at the last little while, then we can see that TVL has been increasing over the past 2 years, but it isn't anywhere near the highs we saw in 2021. And with this TVL growing, it's clear that DeFi season will be upon us soon, and money is slowly flowing back into the space. And you can even use DeFi Llama to compare TVL across different protocols and chains to see where the money is headed. Now, we should also keep our eyes on stablecoin inflows and market cap growth. Stablecoins like USDT, USDC, and others are on-ramps of crypto liquidity. And when their supply increases, that's dry powder entering the market. It's money that's looking to get deployed into assets like altcoins. We can check the overall stablecoin market cap on DeFi Llama as well, and they even break it down by specific stablecoins as well. And a rise in stablecoin dominance could mean that people are accumulating and preparing. If we see stablecoin dominance start to fall and altcoin prices begin to rise, then this could be a sign that people are starting to take risk on behavior. So it's definitely one to watch. And one of the most important metrics that I've been constantly talking about on this channel is global liquidity. I mentioned it in the beginning, but I want to touch on it a bit more. So liquidity refers to the amount of available capital in the system. This is in crypto and traditional markets. When central banks increase the money supply, oftentimes risk assets fly. And altcoins are one of the riskiest assets. So how do we track this? Well, we need to take a look at the M2 money supply. This is the total supply of cash, and when M2 rises, risk assets usually follow. No matter how much bullish news you have out there, the markets can't fly without liquidity. We can see right here the global M2 money supply is now at over $100 trillion and counting. And it's important to note that the price of Bitcoin strongly correlates with the global liquidity index. Take a look at 2017 and 2021 bull runs. But remember, this is a lagging indicator that takes about 80 days for liquidity to trickle down to risk assets like crypto. And this index keeps hitting all-time high after all-time high. When global liquidity goes up, capital flows into Bitcoin, then as Bitcoin tops out or slows down, traders have rotated into Ethereum in the past. Then this liquidity trickles down into altcoins. So if you're watching liquidity metrics, you can be early to these moves. And chances are that if you're watching price charts alone, you'll react way too late. Remember this, liquidity drives everything. And when the next wave hits, altcoins aren't gonna wait. The signals, well, they're already flashing. But this time around, most people are gonna miss it. Not because they're lucky, but because they're unprepared. You've now seen the checklist. You understand how liquidity sets the stage, how capital flows through the system, and most importantly, you now know how to position yourself ahead of the crowd. This is your edge. Now, as promised earlier in this video, I want to discuss why it's important to set yourself up with multiple exchanges. During alt season, platform outages and trading halts are common during high volatility. And having multiple exchanges also gives you access to a wider range of tokens, early listings, and other opportunities between platforms. If one exchange freezes withdrawals or faces geo restrictions, you still have access to trading capabilities elsewhere. And most importantly, by being pre-registered on several platforms, it helps to make sure that you're ready to act fast when the market moves and you're not stuck waiting when it's already too late. For some of the top exchanges that I like to use, check out the links in the description below. And if you found value in this video, then hit that like and subscribe button and turn on post notifications. We're just getting started here on FireHustle. I'll be covering all of the exact tokens I'm watching, the small caps that I think have big potential, and I'll share when I plan to exit before the market tops out. Just don't be mad when I do. That's usually a top signal as well. And if you want even more alpha like my real-time portfolio moves and private plays, then check out the link to my VIP Discord. Link is in the description below. And leave a comment below and let me know your top plays for this altcoin season. Maybe I'll feature it in my next video. And as always, remember, none of this is financial advice. My only piece of advice to you is to spend time doing your own research on projects and topics that you learn about on this channel. Don't let this cycle be another almost made it moment. Prepare now, execute early, and I'll see you at the top.